Why giving up an addiction is so challenging is because we keep imagining the pleasure of that addiction. We keep imagining. The great scientist Einstein said, imagination is more powerful than knowledge. Knowledge has boundaries, but imagination has absolutely no boundaries. And that is why it is much more powerful. You can imagine anything because it has no boundaries. Now, what do? We imagine indulging in that addiction and gaining pleasure out of that addiction. So, our imagination has kept us in the trap of addiction. It's not like someone from outside has come and pushed us into that addiction, but our own minds, our own imaginative power has kept us in that addiction. So, how do we come out of addiction? There is a saying, if you want to remove a thorn, you need to use another thorn, which means something sharp is gone and you need to use something sharper or sharp to remove that. We imagine these addictive behaviors. We can use imagination to remove ourselves from those addictive behaviors. If we are able to imagine being in pleasure without those addictions, then we would have effectively dropped those addictions. You can try a lot of other things, but it may not work in the long run simply because the challenge here is our own imagination. So we have to utilize our own imaginative power, visualization power, to weaken that belief that that addiction is giving us that pleasure. Mind works on a pain pleasure principle. We tend to hold on to pleasure more and drop that which is painful. So when we can imagine the pleasure of not being in addiction versus imagining the pain of being in addiction, then naturally our mind starts dropping that addiction and then holds on to the image of being free without that addiction. Remember, imagination is more powerful than knowledge because imagination has no boundaries, no limits. How much ever you think you can give up your addiction, it is not going to happen that easily simply because your imaginative power is much more powerful and it is keeping you in a prison of that addictive behavior.